Good evening and welcome to the Bhagavatam. Today we continue with the Uddhava Gita, and today's chapter is the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto, chapter number 16. This is about the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna's opulences. It's a beautiful chapter, and let's get started. So it begins with Uddhava asking Krishna a question. So they're sitting together. Uddhava is Krishna's friend, and he's been asking him a whole bunch of questions, and Krishna has been giving these amazing responses. So Sri Uddhava said, "My dear Lord," he's speaking to Krishna here. He says, "My dear Lord, you are Anadi Antam. You are beginningless and endless." So now he's referring to not just his friend, but he is in full awareness that his friend is no other than the Supreme Being, the Supreme Lord. And therefore he refers to him as beginningless, one who has no beginning, and endless. So that what is something that is beginningless and endless? Means it is eternal. Then the next level, or the next statement, reveals his true understanding. He says, Tvam Brahma Paramam Sakshat. You are Sakshat, meaning himself, Param Brahma. This statement is also made in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Param Brahma Param Dham Pavitram Paramam Bhava. Krishna speaks of that as him for himself, and here we see Uddhav referring to him as Param Brahma. So what is this Param Brahma? That is also stated in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that this Param Brahma, this Supreme Being, Sri Vishnu, is the absolute truth. He is Param Satyam, the absolute truth. And he says, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Param Satyam Dhimahi, I offer my respects to that absolute truth, who has no beginning and who has no end. So that absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Being, the greatest being of all, the source of all creation, is now present in front of Uddhava. And then he says, you are unlimited by anything else. Nothing can limit you. You are the protector and life giver, the destruction and creation of all that exists. So the protector and the life giver. Wow. In other words, God, the Supreme Being, Krishna, is our protector and the one who gives us life. The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham bija prada pitaha. I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. There are people in different religions who worship the Son of God. They worship the messenger of God. They worship the Guru or the teacher of God. But Krishna refers to himself as that Father, that Supreme Being. And now Uddhava is confirming the same. Of course, this has been confirmed by rishis and sages and saintly people through the centuries, through tens of thousands of years. So then Uddhav continues, he says, my dear Lord, although it is difficult for the impious to understand that you are situated in all superior and inferior creations, those who are Brahmins, who are actual knowers of Vedic knowledge and the Vedic conclusions, worship you in truth. See, for most people, they cannot understand God. It's too much for them, too big a concept. They don't want to. They're not interested. And that's the underlying thing. And if they were to believe in God, it would be someone who would give them what they want, who would fulfill their wishes, who would solve their problems, who would be their genie in a bottle, who would fix everything for them, then yeah, sure, I'll believe in a God who's willing to do that. But this idea of God who is not involved in our day-to-day life and our struggles, that is our journey, our karma, our creation, who wants nothing more than for us to come back to Him. But to do that, there's a process. And that process involves us getting very clear about what we want. You can't want everything and want God as well. It's like a man who wants to marry a woman, he says, I want you, but I want every other woman as well. What kind of relationship and marriage would that be? Certainly not one that is based on fidelity, certainly not one that is based on any kind of loyalty. Right? If the honest person were to speak up, they might end up saying something like that. Similarly, when you go to buy something in the store, you cannot, or you want to buy a car, yeah, there are lots of cars available, but you have to look at your budget and you can only choose the one that you can afford. So even in this mundane calculation, we have to make a choice. And so the Supreme Lord, if you want Him, if you want that absolute truth, that one without a second, that which is the source of all and everything, who is the source of all pleasure, who is the source of all bliss, who is the source of all love, well then, are you willing to let go the inferior aspects of the creation to get the superior, the greatest, the ultimate? Most people, their honest answer would be no. And that's okay. That's where most of us are at. But when you understand this philosophy, when you understand the nature of Krishna, and how incredible He is, and how beautiful He is, and how fabulous all His pastimes are, and that He's inviting you to be part of that, and you realize maybe there's something I need to think about. And just thinking about it is a great start. So Uddhava says, my dear Lord, although it is difficult for the impious to understand you, impious means those who have not done good karma, those who are not gentle and kind and evolved spiritually, it is very difficult for them to understand who this Supreme Being is, to understand that you are situated in all superior and inferior creations. That means not just the material world, but also in the spiritual world. But those who have understood the conclusion of the Vedas, they will worship you in truth. That's why the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam, that this Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of all Vedic wisdom. The Vedas are vast and have so much knowledge about everything, ranging from how to live your life, how to earn money, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, how to enjoy your senses, everything. But this is the ultimate fruit of that Vedic wisdom. So then he continues, please tell me of the perfections that great sages achieve by worshipping you with devotion. In the previous chapters, Krishna had described the mystic yoga processes and karma yoga and so many things. But now, because Krishna has been hinting on this process of bhakti, of devotion, of love of God, now Uddhava is getting curious. So he says, please tell me of the perfection that great sages achieve by worshipping you with devotion. Also kindly explain which of your different forms they worship. O my Supreme Lord, O maintainer of all, although you are the Paramatma, Paramatma means the great soul or the super soul of the living entities, which means that He is situated in the heart of every living being, from the insect to the animal to the human being. God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of everything, He is present in every single one of us as the witness, witnessing everything we're doing. You say, oh, how is that possible? Well, for Him it is. For you and I, it's not. I can't be even in your mind, and I wouldn't know what you're thinking or seeing, and I would have no idea. I'd have to ask you, but I couldn't be inside you witnessing. But Krishna is. By definition, he is the Paramatma, the great soul. And he is so because he pervades the entire creation at one level through his energy, which is through which everything is built. This entire cosmos, every planet, everything, every living being that you see is built out of his energy. That is the fundamental building block of his of creation, his own energy. But not only that, he's also present with every living being. He's seated within our heart, witnessing everything that's happening simultaneously with all living entities. So that is the meaning of Paramatma. Paramatma, the great soul, super soul. He says, although you are the Paramatma, the super soul of the living entities, you remain hidden. So he is within us, but he remains hidden. Thus, being bewildered by you, the living entities means us, cannot see you, although you are seeing them. So he is the seer and we are the seen. And when we challenge, I want to see God, no, right now, that's not going to happen. If you elevate your consciousness and you're no longer entangled in this material consciousness, these believing everything you see and hear and think and feel, as long as you're in that material consciousness, you cannot see God. Just as much as if there were rays outside of the visual spectrum, I would not be able to see them. Like I cannot see infrared or ultraviolet. I cannot see them. There are many frequencies we cannot see. There are many frequencies we cannot hear. Similarly, we cannot see the frequency of God unless we elevate ourselves to that frequency, and then we can see him. How do we do that? That's the process of bhakti. That's the process of devotion. By serving him, he elevates us by his grace. It's not something we will do, but rather that grace will descend upon us. It is a descending process. It is not an ascending process. The yogic processes are ascending. We try to elevate ourselves. Material life is ascending. We try to become something more. Spirituality, as most people think of it, is about self-improvement. Therefore, you have to do more and more and more, and you're constantly trying to uplift yourself. But real spirituality, bhakti, devotional service, or divine love, that cannot be attained by our effort. That is a descending process. It descends into us, and it descends through grace, and it descends because we are in a state of surrender, and it descends because we have the mercy and the blessings of highly evolved spiritual beings, and by their grace we receive the grace of the Supreme Being. It is a process, and it's a process that requires the softening of the heart and the melting of one's anarthas, one's impurities, such as material desire, such as the desire to be the enjoyer or the controller or the possessor of things or people, for that matter. When we let go all of that and we recognize he, that supreme being, he is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme controller, the supreme owner of everything, and I am just his humble servant, then as we purify our consciousness, we can begin to see him. So the purport of this verse says, the bewildered conditioned souls think that the supreme enjoyer, Sri Krishna, is actually meant to be enjoyed by them for their sense gratification. So everybody in this world thinks that everything is for their sense gratification, for their enjoyment, for their pleasure, including God. So in the purport it says, praying to God for specific material benedictions and assuming God's creation to be one's personal property, The non-devotee cannot understand the actual form or position of the Supreme Lord. You cannot understand God if that is in your heart. You cannot understand Him as He is. You cannot love Him as He is. You cannot know Him as He is. He will not reveal Himself to you any more than a very wealthy person will not reveal themselves to you, will not tell you about their intimate details of their life if they know you're out to exploit them. If they know that you're making friendship with them because you want something out of them, you want some favors, you want some money, you want something out of them, then they're not going to let you in to their most intimate inner circle. That is only reserved for those who are there because they care about the person, not what they can get out of that person. So if that is true even in this material world, well, it's very much true when it comes to God. Therefore, Rupa Goswami says, Anya abhilashita shunyam, that one must become free from any abhilasha, any desire for oneself other than to please God. Jnana karmadi anavritam. One must, even if you are engaged in work, that work needs to be for the pleasure of God. If you are engaged in learning, then that is also for His pleasure. He is the enjoyer of us, not we are the enjoyer of Him. And that is the big difference. Then Uddhava continues with his question, O supremely potent Krishna, please explain to me your innumerable potencies, which you manifest on the earth, in heaven, in hell, and indeed in all directions. Now, when they say hell here, by the way, just be very clear, we're not referring to the idea that is propagated by the Abrahamic religions, but rather of hellish places. Okay? So there are places where there is greater pleasure. They refer to those as the heaven, and greater places where there is more hellish, so more suffering. And that was referred to as hell in the Vedas. That's why there are they talk of the higher planetary systems and they talk of the lower planetary systems, but that is all based on differing degrees of pleasure. So then he says, I offer my humble obeisances at your lotus feet, which are the shelter of all holy places. So in other words, a place becomes holy by the presence of Krishna. So then Bhagavan replies. Bhagavan is Sri Krishna himself. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, O best of those who know how to inquire. So now he's referring to Uddhava with a compliment, that you are the best of those who know how to inquire. Even to inquire is an art. It's not, that all of us are equipped with this art. One has to inquire with humility. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So Krishna says one must inquire from a self-realized person. How should one inquire? With humility and be willing to render all kinds of service. Be willing to act upon what that person is telling you. Then that is true inquiry, not just for intellectual stimulation, not just to appease one's ego or just to have a debate or just to argue. No, that's not real healthy inquiry. So best of those who know how to inquire. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjun, desiring to fight with his rivals. So you might have heard of Arjun already. Arjun is Krishna's friend. And a while back, during the battle of Kurukshetra, which is described in the Mahabharata, Arjun had inquired from Krishna in much the same way. And that inquiry, that discussion was compiled as the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. So in that, Arjuna had asked many of these same questions, but Krishna is now going to explain them in a slightly different way. So he says, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjun, desiring to fight with his rivals, asked me the same question that you are now posing. Arjun thought that killing his relatives would be an abominable, irreligious activity, motivated only by his desire to acquire a kingdom. He therefore desisted from battle, thinking, I would be the killer of my relatives, and they would be destroyed. So thus Arjun was afflicted with mundane consciousness. Arjun did not understand that the entire battle was ordained by Krishna. It was his wish that he had come into this world to annihilate the miscreants, the people who had been causing so much of trouble for everyone on earth. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Wherever there is adharma, that is, people who are causing suffering to others, people who are raping and looting and creating genocide, then the time comes where he says, enough, enough. Because he gives us free will, but then there's a limit. And then when it's enough, then he descends himself, or he sends someone to annihilate the miscreants. Because that can be done by anyone, in fact. It is not that he has to personally come, but he comes for additional reasons. One is to, of course, annihilate the miscreants, troublemakers. The other is the Dhatmanam Srijami. So he says, I come to give pleasure to my devotees also, to protect them and to give pleasure to my devotees, to my loved ones, to encourage them and to deliver this message. And it is only over millions of years that Krishna descends once. And it was only 5,000 years ago. But over millions of years, he comes once in a day of Brahma. And a day of Brahma, as I recall now, is about 4.3 trillion years. And he comes once in that day of Brahma. So we were very lucky that Krishna came at this time. So he says, because of Arjun's thinking, he was afflicted with mundane consciousness. At that time, Krishna says, I enlightened Arjun with logical arguments, and thus, in front of the battle, Arjun addressed me with questions in the same way that you are inquiring now. My dear Uddhava, I am the supersoul of all living entities. So he is Paramatma, the supersoul. I am naturally their well-wisher. So the word used here is Suhrid. I am the well-wisher. I am the supersoul, the Paramatma. I am the well-wisher, Suhrid. Here the verse states Suhrid Ishvara Aham. I am the Ishvara, the supreme controller. And I am the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of the entire universe and of all entities. And what is even more interesting is Sarvani Bhutani, I am not different from them. This statement is very powerful. Not only is he the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of all living entities, he is their well-wisher, he is their the controller of everything, and at the same time, he is no different than we are. So does that mean we are God? No. It simply means that what he is made of, the energy that he is made of, is the same energy as that which our soul is made of. We are Sat Chit Ananda. We are eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. That's the nature of our soul, not the nature of this mind or this body or this intelligence. No, we're completely not in that frequency at all. But the soul, that which we actually are, is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And so is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Not only is he spiritual in every way, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss, but his entire form, he has a spiritual form, a Vigraha, that is Satchidananda. Ishvara Parama Krishna. So the Paramishwar, the supreme controller, is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Satchitananda Vigraha, his form is made of these things. It is not made of blood and bones and skin and hair. It does not sweat like we do. It does not die like we do. It does not get sick like we do. Okay? So there is a big difference. He has his spiritual form. And yes, as souls, when we are able to get free of this material world and of the conceptions that bind us to this world, when we are free of all that, and we have come into the spiritual world, we too have a spiritual form. Yet we are a tiny part of him. We are Anksha. We are infinitesimally small. And he is Vibhu. He is the ultimate. He is everything. Then Krishna continues, I am the ultimate goal of all those who are seeking progress. And I am time among those who exert control. So he says, I am the ultimate goal. I am Kala or time. And I am Guna, the modes of material nature. I am the equilibrium of the modes of material nature. And I am natural virtue among the pious. So you're starting to get a picture now. Krishna is describing himself. I think it's very important to pay attention to the qualities that he's bringing up. Among things possessing qualities, I am the primary manifestation of nature. So things that possess qualities, there are things that possess no qualities. And there are things that possess qualities, things that therefore he's referring to this worldly, the things of this world. And among great things, I am the total material creation. Among subtle things, I am the soul, the spirit soul. And of things that are difficult to conquer, I am the mind. Oh my gosh. Now we know. Among subtle things, I am the soul. Now this subtle thing, this soul, is in the grip of this unconquerable thing, the mind. So difficult to overcome. We are in its grip. We are controlled by the mind. We do whatever it tells us. We obey its commands. We believe its thoughts. We are convinced that its emotions and its experience and its perception is reality. But I have news for you. None of it is true. Neither your thoughts, nor your emotions, nor your perceptions, nor your opinions, nor your beliefs. No matter how much factual evidence you might gather, none of it is true. Whether you think it is right or you think it is wrong, either way you're wrong. Either way it's false. Both conclusions are false. Your conclusions about the world, about reality, which are gathered through your senses and through your mind and through your intelligence, are ultimately false. Why? Because this machine is not capable of understanding the true nature of reality, nor the absolute truth, nor why you're here on this earth, nor what the purpose is of life. It is not capable of it. It is only capable of understanding the world. It is designed to perceive the world and to deal with the world. And that's all it's designed to do. So if that's the level at which you wish to operate, by all means, believe it, do whatever, but you'll notice it causes a great deal of suffering for you. And the day you realize that my entrapment by the mind is causing me the ultimate suffering, it is making me work hard day and night. It is making me compare myself to others. It is making me think all kinds of thoughts and feel all kinds of things. And I don't want that anymore. Well, at that time, you need to go beyond the mind and intelligence and ego and look at that which is in the realm of beyond that. And that is the realm of non-duality. And that is where you find Krishna. And in finding him, you find the answers to what you've been looking for. Then he continues, among the Vedas, I am their original teacher, Brahma. So that's an interesting one. Because you see, he's everything, he's everyone. So he's also the original teacher of the Vedas, Brahma. And of all mantras, I am the three-lettered Omkar, or Om. So why is it three letters? It is A, U, Ma. That's how it's pronounced. Therefore, it actually has three syllables. A, U, Ma. It is written as Om, but the Sanskrit word is Omkar. And in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says the same thing, that I am Omkar. Among letters, I am the first letter A, as is said in Sanskrit. And among sacred meters or sacred hymns or rhymes or verses, I am the Gayatri mantra. Among the devas, the demigods, I am Indra. Among the Vasus, I am Agni. So Indra is the king of heaven, the heavenly planets. Agni is the fire god. I am Vishnu among the sons of Aditi. And among the Rudras, I am Shiva. A lot of people feel that Shiva is somehow different than Krishna, that there is somehow a contest between who is the Supreme Being. Is Shiva the Supreme Being? Is Krishna the Supreme Being? They'll quote, there are books like the Shiva Purana which say that, oh no, Shiva is the Supreme Being. And then there's the Vaishnava literature which says that Vishnu is the Supreme Being. So who is it really? And then people have arguments about this and debates. But if you really understand it, Shiva actually is no different than Vishnu. He is no different than Vishnu. And that is very clearly stated again and again. If you look carefully, you'll find out. So Krishna is saying here, I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Please understand, there is no conflict. There is no separateness. It is not that they are one. They are different, and yet they are one. They are different in that they have performed different pastimes and different lila and different functions. And they are one because, in fact, they are no different at the core. Among saintly Brahmins, I am Brighu Muni. And among saintly kings, I am Manu among saintly kings. I am Narad Muni among the saintly devas. And I am Kamadhenu among the cows. The Kamadhenu is the wish fulfilling. No, that is the Kalpavriksha, is the wish fulfilling tree, and the Kamadhenu is the cow that is found in the spiritual world. And yes, she too can fulfill any wishes that a person has and give them anything that they want. There was once a sage who had a Kamadhenu even on this earth, which is very rare. He had been given that as a blessing and a benediction. And the king came along and found that, he and his soldiers were passing through. They came to the house of this sage, this sadhu. They offered prayers, and the sadhu said, come, stay, have something to eat. And this king thought, oh, no, we don't want to trouble you. You're here with all your disciples, and you live in the forest, and you don't have, what arrangement can you possibly have that you're inviting us? But this sage, he had a Kamadhenu cow. And so he went to the cow and he said, this king has come and I'd like to offer him a meal. Can you please help us provide that? And the Kamadhenu cow presented the king and all his soldiers and the whole hundreds of them with opulent meal prepared just instantly. And so the king was very taken in by this, and he asked the sage, can I have this cow of yours? And the sage said, no, I have a very strong attachment to this cow. I cannot give it up. And eventually the king came and attacked and desecrated the place of the sage, and he wanted so much to have this cow, and the sage would not allow. So then the sage himself fought the king back with his own spiritual weapons. Then the king became very humiliated and ultimately realized his mistake. I digress. Let's come back. And then Krishna continues, I am Kapila among the perfected beings. Lord Kapila we had talked about in the earlier part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think it was the 3rd canto. I am Daksha. Daksha. Oh, sorry, this is Garuda. Daksha was the father of Sati. Then I am Aryaman among the forefathers. My dear Uddhava, among the demonic sons of Diti, know me to be Prahlad. Recently there was a movie about Prahlad called Mahavatar Narsingha. Please do see it whenever it is available. But this is about the story of a 5-year-old boy and his father who was harassing him and trying to kill him. So, among the demonic sons of Diti, know me to be Prahlad, the saintly lord of the Asuras. Among the stars and herbs, I am their lord Chandra, the moon. And among the yakshas and rakshasas, I am the lord of wealth, Kuber. So these are demigods. Please don't mistake that this is the supreme being. No. Kuber is one of the demigods. He is in charge of the wealth of the devas. I am Aryavrat among the lordly elephants. This is the elephant of Indra. I am Varun, the lord of the seas. He is the demigod in charge of the oceans and the seas. And among all things that heat and illuminate, I am the sun. And among human beings, I am the king. I hope you're starting to get a picture. Krishna is referring to how all things are him. There is nothing other than him. The greatest of things, the greatest of people, they're all manifestations of him. Among horses, I am Uchaishrava. And among metals, I am gold. I am Yamaraj, among those who suppress and punish. This is the god of death. And among serpents, I am Vasuki. So it's a long list of things. This is the same thing he did. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita as well. He goes over this long list of different things. He says, I am the Himalayas, I am the mountains, I am this, I am that. Explaining this point very vividly. Among the best of snakes, I am Anantadev. That's Vishnu lying down on Anantadev, right? With millions of hoods. And he creates a serpent-like bed for Vishnu to lie on. And among animals with sharp horns or teeth, I am the lion. And among the social orders, I am the 4th, or the renounced order of life, which is called sannyas. And among the occupational divisions, I am the 1st, the Brahmins. Among sacred and flowing things, I am the holy Ganges. Now he's coming to nature, in the Ganges River. And among steady bodies of water, I am the ocean. Among weapons, I am the bow. And of the wielders of weapons, I am Shiva. Among residences, I am Mount Sumeru. And of impervious places, I am the Himalayas. Impervious means that is which is unshakable. The Himalaya, I am the Himalaya mountains. Among trees, I am the holy fig tree. And among plants, I am those that bear grains. Among priests, I am Vashishta Muni. And among those highly situated in Vedic culture, I am Brihaspati. I am Kartikeya among great military leaders, and among those advancing in superior ways of life, I am the great personality Brahma. Among sacrifices, I am the study of the Veda, and I am non-violence among vows. Among all things that purify, I am the wind, fire, the sun, water, and speech. Things that purify. Wind purifies, fire purifies, the sun purifies. Whatever it touches gets purified. Water purifies. And so does speech if used well. Among the 8 progressive stages of yoga, I am the final stage known as samadhi, the ultimate stage of yoga, in which the soul is completely separated from illusion, meaning separated from the illusion of this world, free from the matrix, free from the illusions that bind us here, that make us think that I am the enjoyer, the controller, the proprietor. That is what samadhi is. And among those desiring victory, I am the prudent political counsel. And among those processes of expert discrimination, I am the science of the soul, by which one distinguishes spirit from matter. So this is the science of the soul. What is that science of the soul? By which one distinguishes spirit from matter. If one does not know the difference between spirit and matter, then how can one call oneself spiritual? Lots of people take on this title, oh, I'm spiritual, not religious. But what does it mean to be spiritual? The definition is given very clearly here. By the knowledge by which, or the process of expert discrimination by which you know the difference, you're able to distinguish between spirit and matter. What is spirit? What is matter? Among all speculative philosophers, I am diversity of perception. Diversity of perception. So this is the speculative philosophers. They speculate on the nature of reality. And the highest amongst those are not the ones who believe this or that, but who have a diversity of perception, even amongst them. Among ladies, I am Shatarupa, and among male personalities, I am her husband, Swayambhuva Manu. I am Narayan among the sages, and Sanat Kumar among the brahmacharis. Among religious principles, I am renunciation, and of all types of security, I am consciousness of the eternal soul within. Notice this use of the word here. Of all types of security, I am consciousness of the eternal soul within. What's the connection between security and consciousness of the soul? You see, the reason we feel insecure or fearful or anxious is because we are identified with this body-mind organism. We think this is me. And because this body-mind organism that we inhabit, the soul inhabits this body-mind organism. It comes into it when you are born, and it leaves this body-mind organism when we die. So that, because it is perishable, because it is fragile, we tend to be insecure. We're always worried how, I've got to make sure that I have a place to stay. I have food to eat. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are the 4 activities of the living entity, primary activities of all living entities, including the animals, including the humans. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. That's what we're constantly doing. So that, if we have these things, then we feel secure. We have food to eat. We have a place to stay and sleep. We have some partner. And we are able to protect ourselves from any onslaughts of nature or any difficulties that might arise. And we feel safe. We feel secure. But that is only as pertains to the human body and mind. One who understands that I am not this body, I am not this mind, and who identifies with the soul, that person has no fear. That person has no issue with security and safety. So that's what he's saying here. And of all types of security, I am consciousness of the eternal soul within. Of secrets, I am pleasant speech and silence. And among sexual pairs, I am Brahma. In the purport, it explains one who realizes the eternal soul within no longer fears any material situation and thus is qualified to accept the renounced order of life or sannyas. Certainly, fear is one of the great miseries of material life. Therefore, the gift of fearlessness is very valuable. And that gift of fearlessness represents Krishna. Both in ordinary pleasant speech and silence, very few confidential things can be revealed. So, when you have pleasantries and so on, you're not going to reveal your mind to someone who you are at just at a very casual level having pleasant conversation. Both in ordinary pleasant speech and silence, very few confidential things are revealed. And thus diplomacy and silence are both aids to secrecy. So that's all part of secrecy. We don't tell people our innermost heart, our innermost secrets. We don't open up and become vulnerable to anybody and everybody. Why? Because we're afraid that they will judge us or criticize us. And it also mentions here that Brahma is prominent among sexual pairs because the original beautiful couple, Swayambhova Manu and Satarupa, emerged from Brahma's body. So Brahma is the original creator of the universe. And this is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter number 12, that this most beautiful couple that are the original beings, Swayambhova Manu and Satarupa, they come from Brahma. Then Krishna continues, among the vigilant cycles of time, I am the year, and among seasons, I am spring. Among months, I am Margashirsha, and among lunar houses, I am the auspicious Abhijit. Among ages, I am the Satya Yuga, the age of truth. So we live in the Kali Yuga, the time of quarrel, hypocrisy, and dissension. But we started with the golden age, which was the age of truth. Satya. Satya means truth. Then it deteriorates into Treta Yuga, then deteriorates further into Dwapar Yuga, and now we are in Kali Yuga, which is the most sinful, the most deteriorated, the most unfortunate time. And yet it comes with great blessings. Of course, we think we're the most advanced, and that is the nature of the ego, because we think we've created all these wonderful things when it comes to science and technology and so on and so forth. But all those things have done is take us away from who we really are. They've distracted us, no end. They've created all kinds of diversions so that we do not even contemplate the real issues of life. Who am I? Why am I here? What is this life all about? Among those who have divided the Vedas, I am Vyas, and among learned scholars, I am Shukracharya, the knower of spiritual science. And among those entitled to the name Bhagavan, I am Vasudev. So Krishna is known as Vasudev. That means the son of Vasudev, but that is also his original name. Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. These are the 4 expansions that come from Krishna, then Balaram, and then these 4 expansions. Vasudev, Pradyumna, Shankarshan, Aniruddha. So, among those entitled to the name Bhagavan, I am Vasudev, and indeed you, Uddhava, represent me among the devotees. I am Hanuman among the Kim Purushas, and among the Vidyadharas I am Sudarshan. In the purport it says, in the Chaturvyuha or quadruple expansion from Krishna, the first manifestation is Vasudev, who here represents all of Krishna's expansions in the Vishnu Tattva category. Among jewels, I am the ruby. And among beautiful things, I am the lotus cup, lotus flower, which is like a cup. And among all types of grass, I am the sacred kusha grass. And of oblations, I am ghee and other ingredients obtained from the cow. In the purport, it says, Panchagavya refers to 5 sacrificial ingredients. So they used to perform sacrifices in the Vedic era. And those sacrifices were done for purification of one's mind, of one's consciousness. And they were meant to ultimately elevate one in their level of consciousness, of course. So Panchagavya refers to 5 sacrificial ingredients obtained from the cow, namely milk, ghee, yogurt, dung, and urine. Cow dung and urine. These were also considered completely pure. In fact, it has been proven that cow dung actually is an antiseptic and is often placed in the When people build mud huts in India, they'll put cow dung on the walls because it keeps the bugs out. And it does not smell, and it does not produce any kind of terrible thing that normal stool would produce. It dries up, and they can even burn it as a fuel source for lighting fires and cooking their food. So it's considered very, very pure, cow dung and cow urine. And so also is milk, ghee, and yogurt. The cow is so valuable that even its dung and urine are antiseptic and fit for sacrificial offering. Kusha grass is also used for religious occasions. Maharaj Parikshit constructed a sitting place from kusha grass during the last week of his life. Among beautiful things, the lotus cup formed by lotus petals represents Krishna. And among jewels, the ruby, which is similar to Krishna's own Kaustuba gem, symbolizes his potency. Then Krishna continues, among the enterprising, I am fortune. And among cheaters, I am gambling. So now he's coming into all the worldly stuff. You know how we think between good and bad? But all of it is him. I am forgiveness of the tolerant and the good qualities of those in the mode of goodness. Of the powerful, I am bodily and mental strength. And I am the devotional activities of my devotees. My devotees worship me in 9 different forms, among which I am the original and primary Vasudev. Among the Gandharvas, I am Vishwavasu, and I am Purvachiti among the heavenly Apsaras. So the Apsaras were these beautiful women who are found in the heavenly kingdoms. And once in a while, they come to earth when there is a great sadhu or rishi who's engaged in a lot of penance, and they'll sometimes lure him away, or even a king sometimes. They lure them away from their path, seduce them. But that is only under very special circumstances and instructions. So, I am Purvachitti among the heavenly Apsaras. I am the steadiness of mountains and the fragrant aroma of the earth. I am the sweet taste of water, and among brilliant things I am the sun. I am the effulgence, the rays, the effulgence of the sun, the moon, the stars. And I am the transcendental sound that vibrates in the sky. Among those dedicated to Brahminical culture, I am Bali Maharaj, the son of Virochan. And among heroes, I am Arjun, the great warrior, the great archer. Indeed, I am the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of all living entities. I am the functions of the 5 working senses, the legs, the speech, the anus, hands, and sex organs. These are the 5 working senses, as well as those of the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, touch, sight, taste, hearing, and smell. 5 working senses and the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses. I am also the potency by which each of the senses experiences its particular sense object. There is a potency by which the senses can experience their sense object. If that potency was not there, then we could not see. If that potency was not there, we could not hear. We could not taste. All of that comes because we are given the potency by which to do so. I am form. All forms come from him. I am taste. I am aroma. I am touch. And I am sound. I am the false ego, the Mahatattva, that is the entire universal creation. The earth, water, fire, air, and sky. I am the living entity. I am material nature. I am the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. All these items, along with knowledge of their individual symptoms and the steady conviction that results from this knowledge, represents me. As the Supreme Lord, I am the basis of the living entity and the modes of nature and of the entire Mahatattva, the universal creation. Thus, I am everything, and nothing whatsoever can exist without me. everything. This is the basic principle that he has been trying to establish. I am everything. And he has explained it very, very specifically, not generally, not vaguely, not, just kind of like hinting on something. He very, very clearly, whatever you can think of, that is Krishna. So the purport says, as has been clearly explained in this canto of the Bhagavatam, both the living entity, us, all living and all creatures, that is, and the Supreme Lord are completely transcendental to material nature. In other words, we are not made of the same stuff as this world. Our soul, that is transcendental by nature. To transcend means that which is beyond. We are transcendental to material nature. The living entity, however, has the propensity to dream that he is material. So we are all dreaming that we are material. We are dreaming that we are these bodies, these minds, our desires, all of that. This is part of the dream. And we are stuck in this dream. It's like a hallucination and we're stuck in it. So the living entity has the propensity to dream that he is material, whereas the Supreme Lord constantly remembers the transcendental position of both himself and the conditioned dreaming entity. The actual purpose of life is to understand by mature conviction the transcendent Lord, his transcendent abode, our own transcendental position, and the process by which we may go back home to him, back to Godhead. Krishna continues, even though over a period of time I might count all the atoms of the universe, I could not count all of my opulences, which I manifest within innumerable universes. It's such an amazing statement. Even though over a period of time I might be able to count all the atoms of the universe, I still could not count all of my opulences, which I manifest within innumerable universes. Whatever power, beauty, fame, opulence, humility, renunciation, mental pleasure, fortune, strength, tolerance, or spiritual knowledge there might be, all of it is simply an expansion of my opulence. I have briefly described to you all my spiritual opulences and also the extraordinary material features of my creation, which are perceived by the mind and defined in different ways according to circumstances. Therefore, control your speaking. These are his instructions now. Therefore, control your speaking. Subdue the mind. Conquer the life air or the prana. Regulate the senses. And through purified intelligence, bring your rational faculties under control. Please remember these things. Control your speaking. If possible, speak only about Krishna himself. The more you can do that, the better. Chant his name, remember his pastimes and his instructions, and speak about that as much as possible. Subdue the mind. So automatically, as you speak in this way, you will subdue the mind. Conquer the prana, the life air. As you meditate, as you focus on him, your life air will get regulated, and regulate the senses. Don't just fall for whatever your senses want. Purify your intelligence and bring your rational faculties under control. The whole process of bhakti yoga is designed to make these things happen. It's not just some wishful thinking. It's actually a process. So he says, when you do that in this way, you will never again fall into the path of material existence. You do these things, you will never again fall onto the path of material existence. This is his promise to you. In the purport, it is said, one should see all things as expansions of the Supreme Lord's potency. And thus, with speech, mind, and senses, one should offer respect to all things without minimizing any living entity or material object. In other words, see everything as an expression of Krishna, as his manifestation, and do not minimize or judge or criticize anything or anyone without minimizing any living entity or material object. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything ultimately should be engaged in his service with great care. A self-realized devotee tolerates personal insult and does not become envious of any living entity, nor does he see anyone as his enemy. This is practical enlightenment. For one who completely gives up the material concept of life, there is no possibility of entering again onto the path of birth and death. So this is very clear instructions. This is very clear outcomes. Krishna continues, a transcendentalist who does not completely control his words and mind by superior intelligence will find that his spiritual vows, austerities, and charity flow away just as water flows out of an unbaked clay pot. So you have a clay pot. If it is not baked, if it is not, it's a particular word potters use. I don't remember right now. But yeah, and if it's not been treated, then it will leak. The water will go through it. But once it is baked in the oven, then that will not happen anymore. So a person who has not, so you may say, oh, I'm engaged in yoga, or I'm doing this meditation, or this or that, or the other religious activities. No, but if you haven't learned to control your words and your mind, and if you haven't developed that superior intelligence to guide your mind and your words and your senses, then you will find that your vows or spirituality, your austerities, your charity, whatever you're trying to engage in will just flow away like water flows out of an unbaked clay pot. In the purport is written, when a clay pot is properly baked, it holds any liquid substance without leakage. If a clay pot is not properly baked, however, water or any other liquid within it will seep out and be lost. Similarly, a transcendentalist who does not control his speech and mind will find that his spiritual discipline and austerity gradually seep away and are lost. So all these people who call themselves spiritual, but they haven't learned to control their senses, they haven't learned to control their mind, they have not learned to control their words, they're not going to make advancement. They will not grow spiritually. They will, because they're still caught up in the mind, the emotions, the ego, and everything else. And the symptom will be clear. They will be fearful. They will not come to that platform of fearlessness. Then Krishna continues, being surrendered to me, one should control the speech, mind, and life air. And then through loving devotional service, one will completely fulfill the mission of life. See, this then completely nails it. One will fulfill the mission of life. With that, we come to an end of this chapter of the Bhagavatam. As we continue reading the Uddhava Gita, we'll be continuing next week. I'm here every Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you then at 8 o'clock Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And if you're in India, then it'll be on Wednesday mornings. Just calculate the time. All right, I will see you next week. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write them down in the comments. Appreciate you. Oh yeah, and if you're curious about this, all the episodes are there on my YouTube channel. You can search for it by my name, Rohit Juneja, or you can look for, I'm not so sure you'll be able to find it, Spiritual Wisdom Channel, probably you'll be able to find that. Okay, thank you. See you next week.